Good afternoon everyone. I am Kimberly Calisin and today I will be discussing about the proper maintenance of citrus. This will serve as a practical guide for commercial and hobby growers covering the essential pillars of citrus care, from watering and nutrition to precise pruning and effective pest control. These are the three pillars of citrus health. First is the water management and fertilization. Next is pruning canopy management. And last is pest disease control. For the water management and fertilization, getting water and nutrition right is the foundation of healthy citrus. Too little or too much of either can stunt growth, reduce yield, and weaken trees against other stressors. Citrus trees prefer deep, infrequent irrigation over frequent shallow watering. This encourages deep root development and reduces disease pressure at the soil surface. These are the key watering principles. First is water deeply to a soil depth of 24 to 36 inches. Allow the top to 3 to 4 inches of soil to dry between irrigations. Increase frequency during fruit development and hot spells. And lastly is reduce irrigation in late fall to harden trees before winter. These are the preferred irrigation methods. First is drip irrigation. Most efficient and minimizes foliar disease. Next is micro sprinklers. This is good for young trees, wets a wider root zone, and lastly is the flood or basin. This is used in arid regions, requires well-drained soil. Note that you have to avoid overhead sprinklers on mature trees as constant wet foliage promotes fungal pathogens. This is the fertilization. For the early spring, apply a high nitrogen fertilizer as a new growth begins. This fuels the spring flush and sets up the season's canopy development. For the fall, reduce nitrogen, increase potassium to improve fruit quality, peel color, and cold hardiness heading into winter. For the late spring and summer, switch to balanced NPK or nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus blend. Support fruit set and sizing. Include micronutrients such as zinc, manganese, and iron. For the winter, limit or halt fertilization. Stimulating growth before a frost event can cause serious cold damage to tender new shoots. This is the chapter 2 for the pruning canopy management. Strategic pruning is the one of the most powerful tools a citrus grower has. Done correctly, it improves light distribution, promotes air circulation, and sustains productive fruiting wood for decades. When and how to prune citrus? For the timing matters, the best time to prune is late winter to early spring, after the risk of frost has passed but before the spring growth flush begins. What to remove? First is the dead, damaged, or diseased wood, for it always the first priority. Next is decrossing or rubbing branches. This helps to prevent bark damage and disease entry. Next one is water sprouts and suckers. Vigorous vertical shoots that drain energy. Lastly is the skirt growth. Low branches touching the ground invite pests and soil-borne pathogens. Pruning best practices at a glance. Use sharp, clean tools. Sterilize pruning shears and saws with 70% isopropyl alcohol or a 10% bleach solution between trees to prevent cross-contamination of disease. Next is cut at the right angle. Make cuts just outside the branch collar at a slight angle. Flash cuts damage the collar and slow callus formation. These stab cuts invites decay. Next one is limit removal per session. Never remove more than 25 to 30% of the canopy in a single session. Overpruning stresses the tree and can delay fruiting by 1 or more years. Last one is protect large wounds. For cuts larger than 1 inch in diameter, apply a citrus-approved wound sealant or white latex paint to reduce moisture loss and pest entry. So lastly, for the pest and disease control, proactive scouting and early intervention are the most cost-effective strategies in any pest and disease management program. So these are the common citrus pests and how to manage them. First is the Asian citrus psyllid. The primary vector for Guanglongbing or HLB, the most devastating citrus disease worldwide. Monitor new flush growth closely. Apply a systematic insecticides during flush events and report any confirmed sightings to local agricultural authorities immediately. Next is the scale insects or the mites. Armored scales, soft scales, and spider mites weakens trees by feeding on sap and disrupting photosynthesis. Horticultural oil applications are highly effective when timed correctly and provide residual suppression without broad-spectrum toxicity. Next is the citrus leaf miner. These are the larvae that tunnel through your young leaves, leaving characteristics, silvery trails, and curling foliage. To protect new growth flushes with appropriate timed insecticides applications. So, avoid stimulating off-session flushes with excessive nitrogen. Root weevils. These are the adult weevils notch leaf margins. Larvae feed on roots and can girdle young trees. Beneficial nematodes apply to the soil target larvae. So, sticky trunk barriers reduce adult migration into the canopy. So, lastly, these are the key citrus diseases and the identification. For the fungal diseases, first is the Phytophthora root rot, caused by poorly drained soils. Improve drainage, avoid overwatering, apply phosphonate fungicides preventively. Next is the brown rot or gommosis. Collar and trunk lesions, weeping gum, remove infected bark, apply copper-based fungicide and keep trunk dry. Next one is the citrus greasy spot. These are the yellow-brown blotches on leaves. Copper sprays in summer and improved air circulation are the primary controls. So for the bacterial and viral diseases, first is the citrus canker. Raised, corky lesions on fruit and leaves. No cure. Remove and destroy infected material. Apply a copper bactericide preventively. Next one is Guanglongbing or HLB greening. Systematic and incurable. Control psyllid vector aggressively, and infected trees must be removed to protect surrounding plantings. So for the integrated pest management, first is the monitoring. Next is identify, then act, and then lastly is decide. For the key takeaways, water deeply and fertilize strategically. Match irrigation and nutrition to the seasonal growth cycle. Soil testing removes guesswork and prevents costly deficiencies. Next one is prune with purpose. Open canopies, produce better fruit. Clean tools, correct timing and restraint. And then lastly, scout early and act fast. Weekly scouting during the growing session in your most effective pest control tool. IPM keeps trees healthy while protecting the broader environment.
Good afternoon everyone, I am Bin Christian Ibio. I am here to present banana production and maintenance, a practical guide for smallholders, commercial growers, and agricultural extension agents covering everything from choosing the right land to harvesting a healthy crop. So there are three pillars of banana production. The first is site selection and land preparation, choosing the right location and preparing the soil for long-term productivity. So the second is planting and crop care, establishing healthy plants and maintaining them throughout each growth stage. So the third is pest and disease control and harvesting, protecting your crop and bringing in a quality yield at the right time. So, site selection and land preparation, the foundation of provide productive banana farm begins long before this first plant goes in the ground. Choosing the right site and preparing the land properly determines the health, yield, and long-term sustainability of your entire operation. So, choosing the right site, there are three types. The first is climate and temperature. Bananas grow best at temperature between 75 to 85 degrees. The second is soil requirements. We need to drain loamy soil with a pH of 5.5 to 7.0 are optimal. Bananas are sensitive to waterlogging, avoid low-lying areas prone to flooding. Then the third is elevation and wide exposure. Ideal elevation is below 3,000 feet. Higher elevations bring cooler temperatures and slower growth. So, here is the land preparation step. There are four types. The first is clear and drain. You need to remove the trees and weeds. Then the second is deep plow. Break compacted layers to 18 inches deep. Then the third is check pH, add lime or organic matter. Then the last is mark and dig. Space holes 8 to 10 feet, dig negative 18 inches. Then the planting and crop care with the land prepared. Successful planting and consistent crop care determine whether your banana farm reaches its full yield potential. From selecting the best planting materials to fertilization and irrigation, every management decision matters. Planting, getting it right from day one. So, selecting planting material. Use legal disease-free suckers or tissue cultured planties. The two main types of suckers area is sword suckers, preferred narrow leaves, strong form, and high vigor. Then the second is water suckers, avoid broad leaves, weaker corn, lower productivity. So, ongoing crop care. So, there are four types. The first is fertilization. Bananas are heavy feeders. Apply a balanced NPK fertilizer at planting and continue with nitrogen-rich application every 6 to 8 weeks. Potassium is especially important for fruit development. Deficiency is leading cause of reduced bunch size. always base fertilizer programs on soil test results. So, the second is desuckering and cropping. Remove all suckers, expect one selected followers per plant to prevent overcrowding and competition for nutrients. So, the third is irrigation and drainage. Bananas need to 1 to 1.5 inch of water per week. Drip or far irrigation is recommended. Ensure drainage channels remain clear year-round. Waterlogged routes are a leading cause of Fusarium wilt and Pamana disease. So the fourth is mulching and weed control. Apply a 4 to 6 inch layer of organic mulch around the base of each plant to retain soil moisture. So the chapter 3 is pest and disease control. Pest and disease are among the most significant traits of banana productivity worldwide. Early identification and consistent integrated pest management or IPM practice are your best defense against crop losses that can reach 100% in severe cases. So there are key pests and diseases to watch for. The first is black sigatoka. The second is banana weevil. Then the third is Pamana disease or PR4. The last is nematodes. Here's the integrated pest management or IPM. The first is cultural controls. Resistant varieties crop rotation. Then the second is chemical controls. Selective use, chemical rotation. Then the third is biological controls, beneficial insect biocontrol agents. Then the last is monitoring and scouting, weekly inspection pest records. Then the harvesting your banana crop. When to harvest? Banana are harvested mature, green, not fully ripe. The first is fingers are full and rounded. 3/4 full stage. Then skin color change from deep green to lighter green. Days after shooting, 70 to 90 days for most cultivars to tropical climates. Then avoid harvesting during rain. Wet fruits is more prone to post-harvest rot. Then, post-harvest handling and storage. The first is washing and dehandling. Wash harvested hands and clean. Chlorinated water 100 to 150 ppm chlorine to remove latex, debris, and surface bacteria. Then the second is grading and sorting. Sort fruit by finger length, breadth, and absence of defects. Then the third is packaging and padding. Pack hands in line boxes with polyethylene foam padding between layers to prevent grazing during transport. Then the fourth is cold chain and transport. Store pack fruit at 56 to 58 degree for maximum shelf life. Avoid temperature below. So here is the key takeaways for successful banana production. The first is start with the right site. Then the second is invest in crop care. Then the third is stay ahead of pest and disease. Then the last is handle fruit with care. Then thank you for listening.